Revealed. How a millionaire family's disrespect uncovered a woman's hidden strength, changing everything in Maplewood. In the heart of Maplewood, where the streets were lined with welcoming homes and cheerful neighbors, Sarah felt the weight of an invisible barrier. As she served coffee and meals at the local diner, her thoughts were often consumed by her 8-year-old daughter, Lily. She could hear her father's voice echo in her mind, a proud veteran who taught her the values of hard work, integrity, and family, the very principles that anchored her through the long, exhausting shifts. Meanwhile, the Lancasters, who had recently moved into the mansion on the edge of town, were throwing extravagant parties that felt like a taunt to her modest life. "Look at that single mom," they whispered across their shimmering cocktail glasses. "She really thinks she'll make something of herself." Sarah swallowed hard, imagining the scorching heat behind those words, each judgment a thorn in her heart. Their laughter spiraled into her home, a reminder of everything she wasn't. Every comment and every glance weighed on her like a heavy chain. The annual community fundraiser loomed ahead, intended to erase those social divides, yet Sarah felt a pang of dread. Despite her determination to contribute, the Lancasters had announced an upscale booth that overshadowed her homemade organic offerings. As she prepared her stall, a sense of defeat washed over her. What could a waitress from a working-class background possibly bring to the table against the tides of wealth? Just as despair threatened to choke her spirit, Lily came bounding in with a school art project, an explosion of colors and dreams. "Look, Mommy. It's us flying high." Sarah's heart swelled. Each crayon stroke illuminated their hopes, from her bakery dreams to Lily's aspirations of becoming an astronaut. At that moment, Sarah's breath caught, a surge of strength ignited by her daughter's innocence. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." Now let's continue. Their preparation for the fundraiser became a whirlwind of excitement, filled with Lily's giggles and Sarah's vibrant determination. The day arrived, the park buzzed with laughter, the air sweetened by the scent of festival food. Standing in her modest booth, Sarah felt a mixture of nervousness and expectation racing through her veins. Then she spotted the Lancasters draped in luxury, unveiling their extravagant display, sending whispers through the crowd like wildfire. Enough, Sarah thought, her heart racing. It was time for her voice to be heard. She climbed onto a small platform, commanding attention with a fiery speech about community and resilience, words spilling from her heart that resonated with everyone present. She challenged the Lancasters, exposing the cracks beneath their opulence, laying bare their hidden fears. The crowd hushed, tension palpable as emotions clashed like thunder. Sarah stood at the precipice of change, with her daughter beside her. Could the Lancasters truly see her worth? Could this moment reshape their community forever? The air hummed with unanswered questions, leaving the townsfolk on edge, waiting for the transformation that could redefine everything, a moment where old prejudices could crumble, and the spirit of Maplewood would rise, united in unexpected ways. As Sarah stood on that small platform, the weight of the moment hung in the air. She felt like a storm about to break, her heart pounding in her chest. The crowd's eyes flared with curiosity as her voice trembled at first but quickly found strength. "We are not just faces in a crowd," she declared, her voice steadying. "We are dreams and resilience, and we belong to this community." People began to nod, their expressions shifting from curiosity to support. For the first time, she saw a flicker of recognition in their eyes, possibly even admiration. The Lancasters, however, watched with sour faces, their sneering expressions tightening. Their laughter, once a sharp blade aimed at her dignity, now felt hollow, echoed only by the growing appreciation around Sarah. "Those of us who serve the coffee, clean the streets, and care for our families, we are the very heart of Maplewood," she continued, her voice stronger now, filling the space around her. "And we shouldn't let wealth dictate our worth." The crowd erupted into applause, a pulsating wave of solidarity that lifted Sarah higher on that platform. She felt invincible, cradling Lily's hand tightly in hers, but as the cheering faded, Sarah noticed a flicker of anger in one of the Lancasters' eyes. Michael Lancaster, the family patriarch, stepped forward. You think your words will change anything? Let us not forget who pays for the events around here, he called out, his tone dripping with disdain, but Sarah didn't back down. You may write the checks, but we are the soul of this town. Your money doesn't buy our spirit. Even Lily squeezed her hand tighter, the presence of her mother amplifying her own courage. Sarah, we don't need to hide anymore. Lily whispered just loud enough for Sarah to hear, eyes wide with admiration. The little girl radiated confidence, a reflection of her mother's fiery resolve. Suddenly, the tide turned when Mrs. Lancaster, supremely polished but visibly agitated, stepped forward. You're right. Money can't buy community, she said, her voice softer but layered with thin tension. But it can bring people together. The tension shifted again, uncertainty hanging in the air. Was she about to offer an olive branch or another veiled attack? We can discuss ways to collaborate, Mrs. Lancaster proposed, to help everyone in Maplewood succeed. It's in our interests to lift each other up. A ripple of murmurs spread through the crowd. Sarah felt her heart race again. This time with cautious hope. Was this truly a change, or just another attempt to quiet the voices of the working class? The people surrounding her didn't seem convinced, yet whispers of possibility flared up, questioning whether the walls could come down. Sarah glanced at Lily, whose eyes sparkled with excitement, innocence urging them forward. In that moment Sarah realized something profound. It wasn't just about winning against the Lancasters, it was about creating a platform for every voice to be heard, each dream to be seen. Could they bridge the unbridgeable divide? Could unity birth a new Maplewood where respect bloomed, regardless of wealth? The crowd waited, breaths held, anticipating Sarah's response. What if she started, her voice gaining momentum again? We all work together for something bigger. Something better? As possibilities unfurled around her, Sarah's heart soared with a mixture of joy and concern. What awaited them on this journey? The air tingled with anticipation, and as she looked at the faces of her neighbors, she knew this was only the beginning. What would they uncover together? And would the Lancasters' intentions prove as genuine as they seemed? Sarah paused, savoring the moment as she took in the rising tide of emotions surrounding her. She could feel the community's energy shift, like a delicate flower unfurling its petals to the sun. But her heart thudded with anxiety beneath the surface. Could they really trust the Lancasters? I want to believe we can work together, she finally answered, her voice firm yet tinged with hesitation. But trust takes time. Takes real effort. It's not just about discussing ideas, Mrs. Lancaster. It's about action. Her words hung heavy in the air, echoing against the hushed crowd. The murmurs grew louder, uncertainty jostling with the excitement in the hearts of Maplewood's residents. She saw the sparkle fade from Lily's eyes, replaced by a shadow that mirrored Sarah's own doubt. The crowd's anticipation shifted from hope to apprehension. People turned their heads, their brows furrowing as they considered the weight of what cooperation might mean. Michael Lancaster smirked, eyes narrowed. I agree with Sarah, he interjected, sarcasm lacing his voice. Action, eh? Perhaps we should start with your acquaintances who so openly critiqued my family. The laughter was tight. Sarah could feel her cheeks flush as the crowd reacted to Michael's cutting tone. But she steadied herself, digging deep for the courage she knew was there. This isn't about vengeance. It's about healing. About our future. More murmurs spread through the crowd. They looked to one another, a mix of skepticism and yearning for something new. The Lancasters had long dictated their lives, but now the very foundation of their power was quaking, and it had ignited something deep within the community. Sarah, how do you forgive someone who hasn't asked for it? A voice from the back questioned, dragging them all back into the shadows of doubt. How do you trust they will help? Every eye turned back to Sarah. She swallowed hard but found herself smiling just the same. Forgiveness isn't about them. It's about us. It's about letting go to build something stronger. Lily squeezed her hand again, and Sarah felt the warmth emanate from her little girl. The truth in her daughter's small grip anchored Sarah. Together we create a new path. We can be stronger if we strive for understanding, rather than fighting against one another. Isn't that what makes a community? The crowd's mood began to shift again as they absorbed her words. Heads nodded slowly, though uncertainty still lingered. Could they really embark on this new journey? It was one thing to express hope, quite another to realize it. Mrs. Lancaster spoke again. You're talking about a united Maplewood. Can we really transcend our differences? Yes, Sarah replied, her urgency growing. Anger, fear, and yearning melded within her. But it requires effort. It requires tearing down walls and building bridges brick by brick together. Lily's eyes sparkled once more as the crowd erupted into applause. Hope blossomed as waves of encouragement rippled through the sea of faces. Sarah couldn't help but smile, letting the warmth of their newfound connection seep into her heart. Yet, the inner voice of doubt lingered. Would the Lancasters actually commit to this vision, or would it all unravel as swiftly as it began? As they dispersed, whispers of possibility filled the air. Could they truly come together? Or was this just a fleeting moment of excitement before the realities of their differences settled back in? With uncertainty hanging just beyond the horizon, Sarah glanced back at the Lancasters. Their expressions hinted at something deeper: intrigue or resistance. Only time would tell. What path would they choose? Would the next steps lead to healing or division? As the crowd began to disperse, Sarah felt a wave of relief wash over her. People were talking, exchanging glances filled with tentative hope. Yet her heart raced. The sense of unity that had enveloped them was fragile, like a spider's web shimmering with dew. Would they hold on to this moment, or would it slip away as easily as the tide? Lily tugged at her mother's hand. Mom, did you really mean it? About building bridges? Her eyes sparkled, innocent and full of possibility. Of course, sweetheart, Sarah replied, bending down to meet her daughter's gaze. But remember, it means we have to be brave. It'll take time and determination. Will the Lancasters help us? Lily asked, her voice barely above a whisper. The question hung in the air like a weight. Sarah wasn't sure. She glanced back at the Lancasters, who stood together, huddled in discussion. Michael was animated, his hands gesturing wildly. Mrs. Lancaster wore a worried frown, a stark contrast to her earlier confidence. Let us hope so, Sarah said finally, forcing a smile. Change starts with us, but it also needs everyone else. We can't do it alone. They walked back home, the sun casting long shadows on the pavement. As they passed by the usual spots, the bakery with its warm buttery scent, the park where Lily played, Sarah felt the familiar corners of Maplewood pull at her heart. This place, with its rich history, had so much potential. The laughter of children echoed in her mind, a sound that needed to grow, expand, thrive. Back at their cozy little house, Sarah found her husband, Tom, fiddling with a broken chair in the living room. He looked up as they entered, raising an eyebrow. You look like a real leader out there, Sarah, he said teasingly. What's next? Taking on the world? Maybe, she said, her voice light but her heart heavy. But I can't shake that feeling. What if this moment evaporates? What if the Lancasters don't truly want to change? Tom put down the tools, his expression shifting from playful to serious. You did something big today. You stirred something in them. But you have to be careful. Just because the crowd is cheering doesn't mean the fight is over. His words lingered in the air, a reminder of the complexities ahead. Change wasn't easy, it was messy, painful. Sarah took a deep breath, letting the realization sink in that night, as she tucked Lily into bed. Her daughter's soft voice broke the silence. Do you think the townspeople will stand with us, Mom? I hope so, Sarah replied, brushing a strand of hair from Lily's forehead. But we've got to show them how to stand together, how to trust. Lily nodded, her eyes growing heavy as sleep took her. Sarah watched her daughter drifting off, a myriad of hopes dancing behind closed eyelids. Then, as the light flickered and shadows morphed across the walls, something caught her attention. There it was, her phone buzzing on the nightstand. A notification. An unexpected message. Sarah grabbed it, her heart quickening. It was from an unknown number, a cryptic set of words that made her stomach drop. We want to talk about the agreement, meet us at the old mill tomorrow. A chill ran down her spine. Who had sent this? What did they want? Caught between hope and dread, Sarah felt the edges of a storm brewing. Decisions were waiting just outside her door, promising new challenges. Would she step outside of herself again, face whatever was in store, or would she allow doubt to anchor her back into silence? As she stared at the screen, the world outside seemed to hold its breath. The next step would be everything, but what would it hold? The morning came too soon for Sarah. Golden rays peeked through her curtains, illuminating the room in a soft glow that felt far too warm for the chill settling in her heart. She sat on the edge of her bed, the message still fresh in her mind. It loomed like an uninvited ghost, whispering doubts and fears. "Mom?" Lily's sleepy voice broke through her thoughts. The little girl shuffled in, rubbing her eyes. "What's for breakfast?" Sarah managed a smile, though her insides twisted. "How about pancakes?" she said, hoping to chase away the worry. "Yes, with maple syrup." Lily bounded into the kitchen, her energy a stark contrast to Sarah's racing mind. As the pancakes sizzled on the griddle, Sarah flipped one over, her movements automatic. She thought of the old mill. What could they want? Was it about the building bridges she had just begun to envision, or was it a trap to snatch away the fragile unity of hope? The sound of laughter broke into her thoughts, pulling her back to the present. Tom walked in, freshly brewed coffee in hand, a hopeful look on his face. "Big day ahead, huh?" She forced a grin, leaned into the warmth of his support. "Meeting at the mill. I'm trying not to think about it too much. You're going to be fine. Just tell them what you believe," he encouraged, but even his tone felt tinged with uncertainty. Lily's voice squealed through the air again. "Mom, can I have a smiley face pancake?" "Of course," Sarah replied, creating a whimsical pancake on the plate. The sight brought a genuine smile to her face, the kind that could soften the weight of the world for just a moment. Once breakfast was over and the dishes cleared, Sarah found the courage to dress. She chose her favorite blue blouse, the one she always felt confident in. Standing in front of the mirror, she whispered to her reflection, "You can do this." As she left the house, the air felt charged. The streets of Maplewood showed evidence of life stirring. Neighbors waved, children played, and the town felt alive. Yet, there was an unshakable tension that hung in the air, a reminder of the storm that awaited her at the mill. Sarah reached the old mill, its wooden frame standing stoic, a relic of past efforts and hopes. She took a deep breath, her heart racing as she spotted the Lancasters SUV parked nearby, the vibrant red emblem against the muted autumn landscape. What expressions awaited her? Was their talk going to be constructive? Or were they going to try to undermine everything she believed in? Just then she saw Michael Lancaster emerging from the car, his face unreadable. He paused, his eyes meeting hers, and in that instant, Sarah felt a shift. It was a small flicker of recognition, a silent acknowledgement that this moment was about more than just individual agendas. This was a fight for their town. "Sarah," he called, waving her over. "We've been thinking." The words hung in the air, a step into the uncertainty of collaboration or resistance. Sarah squared her shoulders, an unexpected surge of determination propelling her forward. "Let us talk," she replied, her voice steady as she crossed the threshold into a world that could either ignite their community as future, or bury it in suspicion once more. As she approached, a question nagged at her. Was she prepared to face the hidden sides of their conversation? "We need to be honest," she called back, her heart pounding. "Are we really here to build bridges?" The heavy silence that followed could have shattered glass. And as she stepped into the mill's shadow, Sarah knew deep down that whatever happened next would mark a turning point not just for her, but for everyone in Maplewood. Would they emerge united? Or would the walls they hoped to dismantle only grow taller? What truth lay ahead, and what sacrifices would have to be made to uncover it? Inside the mill, the air felt thick with anticipation. Dust motes hung in the sunlight streaming through the high windows, illuminating the faces of those gathered. The tension was palpable, a living entity in the space. Sarah stood at the threshold, feeling small yet fierce as a whirlwind of emotion swirled within her. Michael Lancaster, flanked by his parents, stepped closer. He searched Sarah's eyes, perhaps looking for reassurance or perhaps the respect he knew was hard-earned. "We've come to discuss your project, the community center." The bridge, he began, but Sarah felt her pulse quicken. "Not just any bridge," she interjected, her voice rising, bolstered by hidden resolve. "A bridge that connects us to each other. It's a lifeline." The Lancasters shifted uncomfortably. They were accustomed to speaking from a place of authority, unaware of how fundamentally that power had rippled through the community. "We know," Michael replied a bit too casually. "But we have concerns." "Concerns?" Sarah felt indignation well. You mean to say you're more concerned about your land than the people who live here? She advanced a step, the courage unfurling in her chest. I'm asking for inclusivity, something our town has lacked for too long. Tom's voice broke through, steadying. Sarah, take a breath. He placed a hand on her shoulder, a calm presence amidst the storm. But this was Sarah's moment. She needed to keep moving forward. Look at this place, she gestured around the mill. These walls have held so much history. They've been crumbling just like our connections. But if we join forces, we could create something more powerful than any of us alone, a community that thrives. The Lancasters exchanged glances, half-hidden skepticism mingling with intrigue. Mr. Lancaster, a robust man in his late 50s, gathered his strength, puffing his chest. What you're suggesting comes with a cost. We have our family legacy to consider. And I have my family to protect, Sarah shot back, her voice unwavering. Building bridges, they don't just span gaps, they build trust. If you're willing to listen instead of judge, together we can construct a future that honors those who came before us, and those who will come after. A silence enveloped the room. For a heart-stopping moment, it felt as if time had stalled, and every whisper, every second pulsed with the weight of their decision. Yes, Michael finally said, his tone shifting. But what do you propose we do to achieve this? It was an unexpected opening, a spark that pulled at her heartstrings, creating a whirlwind of hope. Let us hold a town meeting. Bring everyone in. Share ideas. Hear the voices that have been too often silenced. Let us build a plan that reflects our shared vision. Murmuring broke out among the Lancasters. Sarah felt the urgency in her chest. We can't let fear drive us apart, she urged, her voice strained yet earnest. We are stronger together, and we owe it to Maplewood to find a way. Michael leaned back, almost considering her words seriously. But Sarah knew there were still hurdles past grievances rooted deep in pride and properties. Tonight she pressed on, rallying determination. No more secrets. Let us make a commitment not just to each other, but to every citizen of Maplewood. The tension in the room crackled. Tom stepped closer, nestling a reassuring squeeze on her hand, grounding her as the weight of their next steps loomed ahead. Will you all be there? She asked, her heart hopeful yet anxious. As they nodded, it was clear they were standing at the edge of something new. But just then, a voice whispered from the back, ringing clear as a bell, a reminder that not everyone would welcome change. Change comes with a price, a shadowy figure said, and Sarah's heart dropped. Suddenly she realized this was about more than just unity. It was about deep-seated fears clashing with hope. What would be the ultimate cost of truth? Would they be forced to confront what had been buried for too long? As she met the gaze of the shadowy figure, tension electrified the air, leaving everyone wondering if they truly knew what they were hoping to uncover next. The room fell into a hush, the weight of that one chilling statement hanging between them like an unexpected storm cloud. Sarah's throat tightened. She gazed toward the shadowy figure, her heart pounding like a hammer against metal. Who dared to speak such words? She could feel the collective breath of the gathered townsfolk, some anxious, others seized by fear. I'm sorry, who are you? She called out, her voice steady despite the tremor of uncertainty within her. The figure stepped into the light, a young woman with dark hair and sharp eyes that reflected both defiance and sorrow. I'm Lily, she replied, her voice low yet piercing. I've seen how these promises are made and how they're broken. We can't just dream of change. We have to contend with reality. A murmur rippled through the group, a miasma of anxious energy. Some nodded in agreement with Lily, while others shifted uncomfortably, clearly unsettled by her challenging attitude. Michael Lancaster's brows knitted together, confusion and frustration flickering across his face. Do you think we're blind? He asked, his voice dangerously low. We understand what we're risking. Do you? Lily shot back, her fire tempering the tension. Do you understand the weight of your decisions? You sit with your families in your warm houses, while the rest of us, she gestured emphatically, her arm sweeping across the milling crowd. We struggle just to keep our heads above water. Sarah could feel the swell of rage in the room. We're not here to create divides. She insisted, her heart racing. We're trying to build bridges. But Lily wasn't backing down. Then what will you do when the land is sold? When your dreams go up in smoke because selfish decisions are made? We need more than words. We need action. Sarah stood frozen. It was a terrifying yet exhilarating moment. A spark of solidarity flickered inside her, a desire to transform fear into compassion. "Lily, what are you suggesting?" she asked, voice low but filled with strength. Lily stepped closer, her eyes fierce and bright. "We need a plan to hold them accountable. All of us together. We can't just give our trust away blindly, hoping for the best." The crowd began to murmur once more, tension blending with burgeoning hope. Even Mr. Lancaster was silent for a moment, the reality settling around him like a thick fog. Sarah felt the ground shifting beneath her feet, a new opportunity emerging. "Let us create an action committee," Sarah proposed, heart racing. "A group that includes everyone, businesses, families, even those who feel forgotten. We can meet weekly, confront issues directly, and ensure that everyone's voice is heard." Lily tilted her head, skepticism etched on her face. "And when the Lancasters come to take your land, and your dreams, how will you protect it then? Let us show them we're stronger united. We'll hold our meetings here at the mill, invite everyone to see that our hopes align," Sarah declared, her passion surging with each word. "We can stand as one. Protection through visibility." Michael shifted, the tension in his shoulders easing slightly. "It's risky, but maybe." Before he could finish, a voice warbled through the crowd, drawing everyone's attention. "Enough talk. If you really want change, you'll need to answer some questions first, questions that many have been too afraid to voice." The voice belonged to Old Man Jenkins, a town elder whose words carried weight and respect. "What do you mean?" Sarah asked, her heart split between eagerness and apprehension. His eyes met hers with seriousness, penetrating through to the tangled web of fears. "Can you guarantee that what you build won't fall apart just like the last bridge?" Silence gripped the room yet again, thick and suffocating. Sarah swallowed hard. Could she truly make that promise? As the murmurs of doubt began to rise, she felt Tom's hand squeeze her arm, grounding her. In that moment, Sarah realized this was just the beginning. The community needed her voice, her passion. And defeating the specter of fear and distrust wouldn't be easy. Together, she finally said, conviction stirring deep within, "If you trust me, I won't let you down. We will rise together or not at all." But as she caught the gaze of the shadowy figure who had revealed so much, uncertainty lingered. What shadows lay ahead? Would the community rally? Or were these divisions too deep to heal? The atmosphere in the mill was electric, charged with both fear and possibility. People stood, some with arms crossed, faces hardened, others with a spark of hope igniting behind their eyes. Sarah couldn't shake off the weight of Old Man Jenkins' question. Could she guarantee that their collective effort wouldn't crumble under pressure? The uncertainty gnawed at her, but she pushed it aside, knowing they needed her now more than ever. "Let us take a moment," she said, raising her hands to quiet the murmurs. "What do we want our community to be? Do we envision a place where we can all thrive together? Where no one is left behind?" A few members nodded, and she felt a flicker of encouragement. "Right now we need to hear from everyone. All voices deserve to be counted, not just the loudest ones." Lily crossed her arms tighter, still skeptical but less hostile. Slowly, Sarah's words began to take root. The crowd began to openly discuss their fears and hopes, their voices rising and falling like the swell of the tide. Someone spoke up, a middle-aged man from the back. "We can't let them just take what's ours. But how do we stop them?" "Organize," shouted another voice. "We'll protest and rally together. If they won't listen to our concerns, we'll make sure they can't ignore us." It was a spark, a small beacon of unity cutting through the fog of fear. Encouraged, Sarah took a breath and stepped closer to the group. "Exactly. We can plan events, spread the word, make sure everyone knows what's at stake. But for that we need volunteers. Who is with us?" One by one, hands went up. Families, teenagers, even some older members stepped forward. Sarah's heart soared as she felt their collective resolve. They could do this. Together they formed a circle, a web of solidarity that connected past wounds with a future full of hope. But Lily remained uncharacteristically quiet. Sarah turned to her, sensing the turmoil behind her fierce exterior. "What do you think?" she asked gently. "Is this a good start?" Lily finally met her gaze, unease swirling in her eyes. "It's a start, but can we really trust each other? I've seen too many promises fade away." Her vulnerability startled the crowd into silence. Sarah felt her own heart ache at those words. I know how it feels to have hope dashed. But I also know what it's like to feel strength when we stand together. We have to take that leap, Lily. This is our chance to prove ourselves. The room was still as Lily searched Sarah's face. Sarah could hear her heartbeat, fear mingling with vulnerability. She'd taken such a huge risk by stepping into the light. After what felt like an eternity, Lily nodded slowly. "'Kay then. Let us see what we can do." A collective sigh of relief drifted through the crowd. Hope started to bubble over again, and laughter broke out as some jokingly argued about committee roles. The mood shifted. It felt lighter. Yet, as Sarah basked in the glow of triumph, a shadow flickered at the edge of her mind, the looming threat of the Lancasters. They wouldn't back down easily. Would they retaliate against this newfound unity? What if failure loomed just as close as success? For that moment, however, she chose to focus on the bright glimmer of their path ahead. As the group organized and shared ideas, she took a quiet breath, feeling more alive than she had in ages. But not everyone was at peace. Across town, in the imposing Lancaster estate, Michael sat listening as his father's voice boomed through the room, angry, determined. "This isn't over. We won't let a handful of dreamers stand in our way." What was about to happen next? Would Sarah's grassroots movement grow strong enough to defy the rich and powerful? Or was she simply fueling a possible disaster? The uncertainty danced like shadows on the walls, waiting to unveil the next chapter in this unfolding story. The sun dipped low on the horizon, casting long shadows through the old mill's windows. The air was thick with tension and anticipation. Sarah glanced around at the faces, some lit by determination, others drawn tight with apprehension. "I can feel it," she thought, heart racing. "This is the beginning." The laughter had faded, but the camaraderie remained. They were forging a plan, but undercurrents of fear still rippled through the group. "Okay, let us settle down," she called, raising her voice slightly over the murmurs. "I know we're all excited, but we need to be strategic. What's our first step?" A young man named Jake stood up, pushing his glasses back up his nose with a nervous gesture. "What if we start with a community meeting in the park? It's a central place. We can invite everyone, let them know what we're up against, and see if we can count down to some kind of rally." The crowd buzzed with agreement. Ideas spiraled through the air, like autumn leaves caught in the wind. Sarah felt a giddy thrill. They were coming together, coalescing around a shared purpose. But deep down she sensed the fear of failure haunting them, a ghost that wouldn't easily fade. Lily, who had once doubted this unity, raised her hand, softly interrupting the chatter. "What happens if they show up? The Lancasters, I mean. What if they try to scare us off?" A hush fell over the room. Sarah's heart sank. She had asked the same question in her mind since that meeting began, but she didn't want to voice the fear. "What if we stand our ground?" she said, attempting to rally the momentum. "If we unite our community, we can show them we're not afraid." But Lily shook her head, her brows knitted in concern. "That's easy to say. But unity won't matter if we're threatened. They have power and influence. How can we fight against that?" "By standing together," Sarah insisted, her voice steady. "Our only real power is us." She locked eyes with Lily, the vulnerability there was striking. If we let fear dictate our actions, then they've already won. In that moment, a flicker of determination sparked in Lily's eyes. Maybe this was what she needed to hear. "All right then," she said slowly, her voice warmer, "let us plan that meeting. But we need to be careful about it." "I'll help." The crowd buzzed again, excitement mingling with caution. For now they were united, but an undercurrent of anxiety threaded through their plans. As they brainstormed details, Sarah felt the weight of their expectations hitching a ride on her shoulders. Could they withstand the backlash? She pictured the Lancaster estate, an isolated fortress filled with disdainful glares. Meanwhile, Michael leaned back in his chair, pondering his father's words. "They think they can take a stand?" he muttered, frustration building. "They have no idea what's coming." A dangerous glint sparkled in his eye. The Lancasters had buried their share of threats under money and power, and he was prepared to remind the town who truly held the reins. As Sarah and the others finalized plans for the meeting, there was a buzzing optimism in the air, but she couldn't shake the sense of foreboding about how the Lancasters would respond when the meeting was set for the weekend. An urgency filled the room. Let us keep the momentum going, Sarah said. Rallies of voices echoing her excitement. But as they left the mill, shadows loomed taller than ever. Would the meeting empower them, or would it provoke the wrath of their adversaries? What would it take to truly stand their ground? Sarah squared her shoulders, determination sweeping through her, but her heart trembled at the thought of what lay ahead. And in the depths of the Lancaster estate, a plan began to spool as Michael's fingers drummed anxiously against the table, looking to leverage their influence. This was far from over. In fact, it was just beginning. Now Sarah's biggest challenge was yet to come, and she could feel the ground shifting beneath her feet. How would they stand against a powerhouse? Would their spirit prove stronger than the threat looming? The sun rose over Maplewood, tapping on the windows like a gentle reminder that today was the day. Sarah pulled her curtains aside, breathing deeply, chasing away the nervous butterflies in her stomach. Today was more than a meeting. It was a declaration, a stand against the shadows of fear that had long haunted her community. Lily scampered into the kitchen, her bright smile illuminating the dull gray of dawn. "Mom, today's the big day," she chirped, excitement bubbling in her little voice. Sarah knelt to embrace her daughter, planting a kiss on her forehead. "Yes, it is, sweetheart. Are you ready?" Lily nodded vigorously, her confidence radiating pure joy. After a hurried breakfast, they set out, stepping onto streets that felt alive today. Flowers swayed with a sense of anticipation, and neighbors greeted each other with newfound warmth. Each wave and smile was a whispered promise that together, they could redefine Maplewood. As the crowd gathered at the park, Sarah's heart quickened. Familiar faces emerged from every corner. The baker, the teacher, even the construction workers from years past huddled together, as if their collective presence could shield them from the oppressive weight of doubt. Optimism crackled like electricity in the air. Holding Lily's hand tightly, Sarah stepped towards the makeshift stage. Eyes turned, silence fell. She could see familiar faces amplified by expectation, mixed with anxiety. "Today," Sarah began, her voice steady, "we stand together. Not just for ourselves, but for every voice that has been silenced, every dream that feels out of reach." Cheering erupted as hope filled the crowd. It felt like a wave crashing on the shore, washing away old beliefs. Encouraged, Sarah pressed on. "Every neighbor here is a part of this community. We all have dreams. No matter our struggles or backgrounds, it's time to unite and reshape our future." A ripple of energy coursed through the park, a shared vibration of courage tethering them all together. It was no longer just her fight, but a collective journey they would undertake. Then from the back, a familiar voice broke the momentum. Michael Lancaster emerged, flanked by his family. The murmur stilled, tension thickened their presence like a dark cloud. Sarah's heart thundered, but she stood her ground. "Seems you have quite the gathering here," Michael said, a slight smirk playing on his lips. "But what makes you think this solidarity will ever change the outcome?" The crowd gauged Sarah's reaction, eyes wide with anticipation. Would she falter? Would fear dampen her spirit? But Sarah found her voice, fueled by the very people who had gathered to support her. "You're right, Michael. Unequal power and wealth have shaped our town. But today we are here to challenge that status quo. We're taking the reins of our future." Bold words, Michael countered, the derision in his tone sharp as glass. "But do you truly believe this is about equality? It's a game of control, my dear." Sarah felt the weight of judgment and doubt in that moment, but then she looked towards Lily, her excited face brightened by hope. What would she show her daughter about standing tall? "This isn't a game," she replied, color rising in her cheeks. "It's about legacy, about ensuring my daughter grows up in a Maplewood where everyone is valued equally, where dreams don't fade away, just because they don't come with a price tag." More cheers erupted, drowning out Michael's retort. The tide had turned. Sarah could see the spark of enthusiasm igniting around her. The collective spirit became palpable, vibrant enough to bring down walls. "Join us," she urged, addressing everyone, her voice rising with an intensity that resonated with the crowd. "Together we'll build a community where trust replaces fear, and where voices aren't drowned out by influence." The crowd erupted, applause ringing louder and louder, drowning out doubts. Sarah stood taller, energy flowing like a river, unbroken and determined. The Lancasters looked bewildered, a stark contrast to the charged atmosphere embracing every soul gathered there. In that palpable moment, Sarah realized the true legacy wasn't just about defeating the Lancasters, it was about creating a space where everyone, regardless of their background, felt they had a place. Where children would dream without limits. It would be hard, yes. But now she could feel that together, they could face whatever came next. As Michael opened his mouth to retort, someone from the crowd shouted back, "No one will silence us anymore." With the air thick with unity and resolve, Sarah felt a warm wave of gratitude wash over her. She caught Lily's eye beaming with hope and pride. It was a moment crystallized in time. Their lives were shifting as they boldly stepped forward, hearts racing, ready to embrace the promise of a new Maplewood. As the crowd dispersed, hope rekindled and laughter danced in the air. Every single person left feeling the power of possibility. Grit and determination had planted roots deep within their community. Would they succeed? Only time would tell, but the message was clear. Together, they could change everything. If you've been inspired by this journey, subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that will uplift you. Leave a like now to help feed the algorithm and support these transformations we all need. Comment down below with your reactions and feelings about this incredible ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Let us spread the message of hope and unity together. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait not even one more second.